Good morning, St. Augustine. Your access to the voices of top local newsmakers starts now. Here's your host, Liz Ryan.
Good morning, and thank you for tuning in. I have a very interesting guest this morning. It's Mike DeRoche, who is a house parent at St. Augustine Youth Services, or SAYS, as we call it for short. Good morning, Mike.
Good morning.
Thank you for taking the time to chat with me. I know you're a busy guy.
Yeah, no problem. It's truly a blessing to have this opportunity to speak with you guys. So thank you for having me.
St. Augustine Youth Services is something very special to our community. But before we start talking about that, Mike, let's learn a little bit more about you. Where are you from? Where were you born? And what led you to this calling?
Okay, so originally I was born in Massachusetts, Holyoke, in 1987. However, as I was only a few months old when my parents decided to move to Florida, they moved us to Palm Coast, Florida, and that's pretty much where I was raised. I am the middle child, so I have an older brother and a younger sister who I love dearly. And I've pretty much spent my whole life in Palm Coast.
You love it there?
I do. You know, it's when we first moved there, I hear all the rumors. My dad used to tell me, oh, there was only one stoplight in this county, and now it's really blown up. But when I got married 2 years ago, I moved to St. Augustine, where my wife lives, and I love it down here as well. I spent a lot of time, obviously, growing up, going to St. Augustine and all the tourist attractions and stuff. So,
what led you, Mike, to become a house parent at St. Augustine Youth Services?
So that's a really good question, and basically what happened is that, you know, I graduated high school in 2005 from Flagler Palm Coast High School, and I was at that point where I had picked up painting as a side, you know, as a trade right out of high school, and my dad was always asking me, like, you know, what are you going to do? What do you want to do with your life, type of thing, and I was still living at home, and I decided that, you know, I had always wanted to be a police officer, so I actually did go to the St. Johns River Police Academy here in St. Augustine. I graduated in 2009 of January, and unfortunately that was like the worst time to go through it, and no one really told me because all the departments were on hiring freezes. I guess that was the recession year, so my certificate never got active. But while I was in the process of looking for a job in law enforcement, a really good friend of mine, his father was a teacher at what used to be called Hastings Youth Academy. And this is a juvenile detention center right down the road from here. And they were looking for youth care workers. And, you know, so I applied and I got the job working. This was my first, like, official job back in, like, 2010, I believe, working with juvenile delinquents. And it was a lockdown facility, barbed wire fences around the campus. And I was trying to better my chances of getting a job in law enforcement by doing something, you know, similar. And while I was there, something inside of me really changed. I started to realize I had such a deep love and passion for these youth that are going through the things that they've been through, and even in the prison. You know, a lot of people would see these kids and say, that's where they belong. They deserve this. And, you know, there was something different in my mind and in my heart. I'm sorry, I get a little choked up just talking about it because it's,
you know, I understand. Sure.
Yeah, you see these kids in there and the things that they've been through, and it's just, you know, it started there, and I worked there for a little bit over a year, and I really loved it. It was challenging, but I loved it. After that, I tried some different things, but I still had this passion to, like, want to help the youth. And I did volunteer in certain places here and there, like summer camps and stuff, and, you know, doing programs. And then a few years ago, I ended up moving to Louisville, Kentucky, and a friend of a friend that was out there worked at what used to be called Our Lady of Peace. It was a psychiatric hospital. And I worked there, and this was, you know, a psychiatric unit, and I was working with youth again. And I just once again, I just fell in love with, and I knew at that moment that that was my calling. And I loved on them the best I could. And then, fast forward a little bit, I've ended up moving back to Florida. And before I worked here, I was a paraprofessional at my old high school, and I loved that. It was different, but then I started working here, and my life completely changed. And I love what I do. I'm passionate about it. Yeah, so that's kind of how it all started back in juvenile jail. And
Mike, what kinds of circumstances would a child be brought into or go through that would lead them down such a long path they would end up behind barbed wire? And how did you get those kids to open up to you, to tell you what they've been through?
Well, a lot of those kids that were in the juvenile prison, they were similar to the boys that are here at St. Augustine Youth Services, abused, growing up in, with no parents. Some of the boys were in there for attempted murder and severe anger problems, depression, suicidal ideations, and all that stuff. And I still carry this on over to where the boys, we get a mass amount of training and things that we have to do, training classes that we have to learn, all these tips and everything. And I'm not saying anything bad about that, because that's all great information. But for me, and this is what I tell people when they say, well, how do you connect? Like, how I'm not able to connect with this, but what do you do? And for me, it's all love. It's hard. It really is hard for me to explain, because I've always flocked towards the troubled ones, like the ones nobody wants to work with. And for some reason, they've always flocked towards me. And it's just as simple as, just loving them. They sit down and they'll start to talk, and you don't even have to say anything. You just listen to them. And sometimes a lot of these boys don't even want advice. They just want somebody to finally listen to them. But that's kind of my approach. I don't come at them with, like I said, I'm not discrediting the training that we get, because it's great stuff and it all resonates with me. But my approach is just to love on them. As I mentioned to you at one point, like I show them the best I can the love of Christ, and they're accepted, they're loved, no matter what their background, no matter what they've gone through.
I truly believe that we are God's hands and God's eyes.
Amen.
And clearly, Mike, you were given a gift. Do you feel like this is your purpose in life? This is what God called you to do, and this is why he gave you such a talent and a gift to work with these kids?
Absolutely, 100%. It's also the reason why I named my youth ministry that I just recently started up. It's called Grace for Purpose Youth Ministries. And it absolutely, I do believe that, and it's my goal for the rest of my life to dedicate my life to serving these children and raising them to know the love of Christ, and that there's hope in Christ. 100%.
Mike, tell me more about your ministry. Where is it? What do you do? Where do you go?
So as of right now, I'm here on campus. So this is kind of like my congregation, I guess you could say. So I do spend a good amount of time with the boys. They all know that I'm a Christian man, and they know that I like to talk about Jesus, and so I can't force that on them. But they all, they come to me. So right now my congregation is here, and as I mentioned, like I recently just incorporated my youth ministry, Grace for Purpose Youth Ministries, and I'm trying to do what I'm doing here, but my goal is to get outside the community and do this with the community. And also alongside of that, I started a little company called Project Bass. I am a bass fisherman, and that's also something that I want to do, is which what really got that post going that I made. I want to get these kids outdoors fishing, on the water, whatever it takes, and incorporate fishing in my youth ministry.
Mike, that's what led me to you. That's how we connected. Is I saw your post on Facebook, and I to be fully honest, it just stopped me in my tracks. And it hit me. It hit different when I read your post. So let's talk about your post. I saw that, and you were asking for donations. Tell us more about that, Mike.
Yeah. So, since I started working here, and I mentioned in the post, we do have the ability to request funds for activities and stuff like that, but it's not always easy. We have to request funds. We have to get the approval, and then we have to wait for the money. We have to wait for the money to come in to take these kids out. And typically by the time we get the money, a lot of the kids are no longer interested. But so my goal, and I saw this vision many, many years ago, is I want here on campus to start a program, an outdoor program, to get these kids fishing. Since I started working here, the boys, I love these boys so much because they know I'm the fisherman on campus. So it's every day. We going fishing tonight? We going fishing tomorrow? So, and they want to be out there. And when they're out there, that's another way. Going back to that question you asked me before, that's how I connect with these boys. And we spend so much time and have such great conversations, and they open up like you would not believe about the things that they're going through. And that's how I can really minister to them, and that's how I can really get to them. So my goal here is I just wanted to get these kids full 100% at the drop of a hat access to kayaks and fishing and the outdoors, because I know when they see them, they just want to jump in them. And that's basically what's happened. Since I made that post, I figured I would get a few people that would be interested or whatever, but I am so overwhelmed with the amount, in a good way, and with the amount of people that have messaged me and even donated. On the side of the property, I have lined up like kayaks, and the kids every day are going crazy. I made a post yesterday just showing some of the kids. We haven't been able to get them out on the water yet because we're still trying to find, and I'm praying and believing that God's gonna bless us with a trailer in a way that we can transport these kayaks more than one at a time to get them on the water. But they were, we want to use them. Can we use them, please? And let's take them in the pool. So we put them in the pool, and they were, oh my gosh, but just seeing them on property, when they see them lined up there and they know that they're theirs and they can use them, and we got plans to go fishing and we're getting out there, it's completely changed. Like, even kids that don't even want to go outdoors anymore, that never want to, they're like, wait, are those ours? And I'm like, they're 100% yours, brother. And they're like,
just to be clear, Mike, for those who didn't see your post, you were asking for donations of kayaks and things like that.
Yeah. So anything outdoor related, because as I mentioned, my goal here is to start some kind of outdoor program and maybe possibly run that with fishing, hiking, camping, kayaking, boating, whatever. I want to get these kids outside, off their electronics. We all know how bad that's been with with these kids being cooped up in their house.
Oh, it's awful. It's awful.
The
screen time. The amount of screen time that these kids have is just, it's crazy. I can't imagine growing up like that. I'm so glad that there were no cell phones when I was growing up. What is it, Mike, about nature that makes kids just feel at ease and that they can be themselves, and that it brings them a sense of safety and that allows them to open up to you?
I'm not really sure. I think when you're out there fishing and you're in the outdoors, it allows them to not be focused on an electronic, Snapchat and all that stuff, and you're just in the moment. And in those moments, your guard is down. And I think you're just more freely to open up. And like I said, 98% of the time, I don't even spark the conversation with these boys. They're just like, Mr. Mike, my dad called me yesterday, and that's why yesterday I flipped over the picnic bench. These are moments that the therapists and stuff here struggle to get out of these boys. And like, I'm just, you're out there just fishing on the bank, and they're telling you their whole life story. And then you have that opportunity to just kneel down with them, pray with them, encourage them. And just sometimes they don't even have to do that. They just want to be heard. They just want somebody to hear and just listen to them. But I think just being out there, there's no distractions. You're fishing, you're just relaxing, you're in the outdoors. I think that's what it is. There's just their guard is down. They know with me by now. I've been here for almost 2 years, and they know with me that there's no judgment. You can tell me anything you want to tell me, and there's no judgment, and they know that, and I think that's really what it is.
It's wonderful. It's so heartening to know that there are people like you that are making such a difference in these kids' lives and making such a huge impact. You're listening to Good Morning St. Augustine. I'm your host, Liz Ryan, chatting this morning with Mike DeRoche, who is a house parent at St. Augustine Youth Services. Tell me more about SES, Mike.
So SES, we're a group home for boys. Anywhere from ages 8 to about 17 years old. And we have 4 main houses here on campus, each house for individual needs that we can provide. I happen to work in the house that's called PIL, which stands for Pre-Independent Living, and I have the older boys from ages 13 to 17.
And these kids are exposed to so many different things. It says activities and counseling and therapy. Let's circle back, Mike, to your post that led me to you that I saw. And I got all choked up when I saw your post. You were asking for donations of kayak and other outdoor sports equipment, things like that. Tell me about some of the people who made donations and what did they offer?
Mostly as of right now, we've gotten kayaks. There's a guy named Todd from Whitney Labs over by Marineland who's donated these things called skanoos, and they're these amazing boats, but mainly kayaks. We've had some people donate some fishing rods, which we also need because a lot of the boys need some fishing rods. But I mean, would you like me to mention some names? Yeah,
please do. I just want to give them credit. I know they didn't do it for credit, but I insist.
So, I mean, a big thank you to, we got Brenda Smith here who donated a couple kayaks to us. A big thank you to Kelly Jones. She donated some really nice kayaks to us as well. Actually, I want to give a really, really big shout out to Mel, and I'm sorry if I pronounced her name wrong, but Abali. She donated $3,000 to St. Augustine Youth Services. It was a grant, and it was from the Lewis Greenwood Foundation, but she, because of the post, has donated $3,000 towards.
Wow.
Yes, and that was just amazing. A big shout out to Shelly Cox. She donated as well.
Thank you, Shelly.
She was one of the first that reached out. And also a huge thank you to Britt Book. He works for a company called Nautical Arrangements. They build boat docks on the water. And also he partnered with Stephanie Barrow, who works for Sunshine State Heating and Air. And both of them, too, they're dropping them off today. They're donating 6 brand new inflatable kayaks for these boys, which is going to be great because that makes transportation even easier because they just deflate. We can put them in the van and off we go. Also, a shout out to Kimberly Kim. She donated a few kayaks. And also we have Jessica Deal, who her and her husband own the pool company that does our campus pool from Allegro Pool Care. And again, the list is growing because I'm still reaching out to people who are wanting to offer their services and come here. And I mean, I got people wanting to donate free music lessons to the boys and, take these boys out on their properties to do like camping. And it's just been amazing the amount of people that have reached out.
And Mike, I also saw that the proprietor of the C Como No Inn, that colorful, funky motel right on Flagler Beach, stepped forward and offered to host some of the kids of SES there at her place.
Yes, they did, and I'm in the works of coordinating all that with them and many others as well. That's going to be huge for them. It's amazing.
That's so wonderful. What a loving, generous community we have here.
Absolutely. I'm just amazed, and I'm very grateful and touched and blessed. God really is coming through, and he's not done yet, so.
The Lord provides, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
Mike, are you still looking for donations, or are you overwhelmed?
Oh, no. I mean, so here's the other thing. As I mentioned with my youth ministry, this is something that I want to take out with my youth ministry outside these walls. So even if even if we get overwhelmed here on campus and people want to give, they can also give to my youth ministry, because this is the same exact thing I want to do. And I have a barn out in, I have some property. A friend of mine who ministers with my father, he's got some property, and we're trying to get this started up as well. So my ministry will take some if they want to donate to Grace for Purpose Youth Ministries. We'll still take them here on campus. So either way, it's going towards the community. It's going towards these children. So as much as people want to give, let me know. We will take them. They'll either get used here on campus or with my youth ministry and Project Bass.
And for those who just tuned in, Mike, campus is St. Augustine Youth Services says, which is where you're a house parent. If folks want to get involved, if they maybe don't have something to donate, but they want to donate their time and volunteer, what kind of opportunities at SAYS are there?
Yeah, so I mean, they do accept volunteers for, like, if you want to be a mentor, you can do that. They have to go through some screening processes with that, obviously. So they would have to come on campus or go online on our website. There's a whole list of there's so many different types of volunteer things that they're looking for these kids. But if you're a mentor, you're able to pick these kids up and you can take them out for ice cream, lunch, movies, and you can basically spend the whole day with them. That's probably the most common that I've seen, is a lot of people volunteer to be mentors around here, besides employment opportunities.
Mike, to becoming a mentor, how do folks connect with SAYS?
So they like I said, they could go on our website. They could fill out an application. I believe right there directly on the website, they have a tab for volunteers or getting involved, I think is what it's called, or get involved, and that's how they would do it.
What are the qualifications for being a volunteer? Do you have to have experience or a certain kind of background?
I know, like I said, they have to go through a screening process, so I think you have to be above the age of 18. I think the good driving record I know is one. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Mike, you are such an inspirational, incredible person. Someone instilled, obviously, these really wonderful values in you. How did you become the man that you are now, Mike?
I have to give all credit to my father. He, to this day, is my best friend. Not only is he my best friend, but he's the one who raised me to fear the Lord. My father is a preacher for Spirit Life Ministries, but ever since I was a kid, this is what I was raised in. Fear the Lord, my godly values, and from the day that I was born, I don't remember anything other than being involved in church and Christ. And I fought. It's funny because I fought it as a kid, and, growing up, you didn't want to go to, every single day, Wednesday Bible study, Sunday church. And as a teenager, it wasn't what I really wanted to do, but to this day, I am extremely grateful for my father. I am a stepfather to 4 beautiful, wonderful, amazing children. So when I leave this place, I get to go home to them, and I'm a husband to the most beautiful woman in the entire universe. Yeah, and she supports me in everything that I do, and she encourages me every day. So I thank her a lot for her constant encouragement in this. She encourages me a lot to keep going on the days where sometimes I feel like I'm too tired, and my father was, it's because of him. He made a promise to God that he would raise his children this way, and it paid off.
What an amazing story you have, Mike, and thank you for sharing it with us. What is the St. Augustine Youth Services website? How can folks get in touch?
So it's staugustineyouthservices.org.
All right, thank you so much, Mike. What do you think you'll do with the rest of your Sunday?
Today, I'm going to spend the rest of my day with my wife, my stepkids, and hopefully get out there and do a little fishing, get a little sunburn or something. We'll see.
All of our programs can be downloaded as a podcast. Go to flaglerbroadcasting.com, click on podcasts, and scroll to Good Morning St. Augustine. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday in our beautiful, ancient, historic city.